Today is Thursday, September 17th, and this is our overview video from what we did today. So first I want to explain how I am going to slow down when it comes to our materials and the skills we're going over, because I'd rather everyone understand than me give so much information and students don't even understand what we're doing. So with that being said, within our Chapter 1 math book, there are a lot of lessons we did not do. And that's because I went through them and chose the skills that are most important for future years and that will be built upon. So there are a lot of blanks, so don't worry about it. So today we went to our Chapter 1 review, and then we are going to do the test on Monday. So today we're doing review, tomorrow review, and then test on Monday. So please turn to page 55 in your math. I'm going to tell you right now, it looks very confusing because I already worked on it with the students in class, but I will walk you through it. And also have a scratch paper to write your notes on because you need to show your work. All right, so on page 55, we started with number 1. So for numbers 1A through 1D, choose yes or no to tell whether the sum is even. So I want you to try, even though if you saw it, try 1A and 1B. That's what I did with the students. They told me 5 plus 8 is 13. It is not even, so we wrote no. It is actually odd. We looked in our ones place 3. 3 is odd, so that must mean 13 is odd. You could skip count by 2s starting at 0 to help you decide if a number is odd or even. If you skip count by 2s and you say that number, it is even. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, which 0 is even. 3 we did not say, so it is odd. 1B, 9 plus 3 equals 12. If you look at that 2 in the ones place, 2 is even, so 12 must be even. So yes. Your homework is 1C and 1D. So do that on your own. Number 2, select the number sentence that show the commutative property of addition. Mark all that apply. With our tests, a lot of the brain checks in our book, they say mark all that apply, and you have to look at every single choice. And don't just stop when you find the first one. There may be others. So A, 14 plus 8 equals 22. That's a number sentence. That's what a number sentence is. But it's not the commutative property. So no. B, 8 plus 14 equals 14 plus 8. That is the commutative property. Over here, I explained it. So we have 14 plus 8. What's the commutative property of 14 plus 8? You just switch them. 18 plus 14. Now, this looks different because we haven't practiced that. But when you put an equal sign, it's saying this side is the same as this side. And it is, because we get the same answer when we add 14 plus 8 or 8 plus 14. C is not the commutative property. It's a different property I have not taught you yet. And D is, but I don't want you to worry about parentheses just yet. The reason it is because here it says 5 plus 9, and over here it says 9 plus 5. So they are switched. But do not worry about parentheses just yet. I want you to be able to recognize that when there are two numbers, when you switch them, it's the commutative property. Number 3, select the numbers that round to 300. We are looking for 300. When rounded to the nearest 100, it tells you you are rounding to the nearest 100. So you are not rounding to the nearest 10. Mark all that apply. So that means you have to round every single number. So we did A, 238. We boxed the 2 because we're rounding the hundreds. We pointed to the 3 because it's in the tens place. We asked ourselves, is 3 greater than or less than the magic number 5? It is less. So since it's less, our box number stays the same. 2. Everything to the right turns to a 0. So 200. B, 250. We box the 2 because it's in the hundreds place. We're rounding 100. We point to the 5. If 5 is 5, so 5 is our magic number, and since it's 5, we go up by 1. So our box number turns to a 3. Everything to the right turns to a 0. Your homework is finishing C, D, and E. So you need to round them all to the hundreds and then bubble in which one rounds to 300. Number 4, there are 486 books in the classroom library. Complete the chart. So you're going to complete this chart to show 486 rounded to the nearest 10. Okay? So when you have 486, we are boxing the tens place because it tells you the tens. If you box the hundreds, it's going to be wrong. It's not asking for rounding to the hundreds. You point to the 6. You ask yourself, is 6 greater than 5 or less than 5? It is greater. Since it's greater, our 8 turns into a 9. Everything to the right turns to a 0, and everything to the left stays the same. Now you need to put it in our chart. We have 4 hundreds, 9 tens, and 0 ones. All right, and if you want to try then on the next page, do number 5 and pause. And then this is the last one we worked through today. The rest we will do tomorrow. So, number 5, write each number sentence in the box below. The better estimate of the sum. That sounds so confusing, but all it's asking you to do is what you already know how to do. And that is, you are going to rewrite this number sentence on top of each other. Then you're going to round and add. So there are 4 problems within this one problem. We did two of them. So 393 plus 225. And then you round. You have to round to the hundreds. It's not in the directions, but if you look at our box, our answers, you can only have 2 answers over here. It's either 600 or 700. Well, obviously, we're going to round to 100, right? Because it has 2 zeros. 2 zeros. So that's rounding in the hundreds place. Okay. So we box the 100 place. 3. We point to the 9. We ask ourselves, is 9 greater than 5 or less than 5? It is greater. Since 9 is greater than 5, our 3 goes up by 1 to a 4. Everything to the right turns to a 0. Then we go down to 225. We box the 2. We point next door, which is a 2. We ask ourselves, is 5 greater than or less than 5? See, I made a beautiful oops. Is 2 greater than or less than our magic number 5? 2 is less than. So our box number is going to stay the same. Everything to the right turns to a 0. And then you add it. 400 plus 200 equals 600. Like I said, our only options are 600 or 700. So I know I rounded correctly. If I got 520, I did not round correctly. Now, it's asking to put the number sentence in the box. This is the number sentence. So you are writing this number sentence in the 600 box. You have to show your work. Otherwise, I think you are guessing, and that's not what we want to do. I want you to show me that you can round and then add. We did the next one together. 352 plus 328. It's tiny down here. We box the hundreds, place the 3. We point next door to the 5. We ask ourselves, is 5 greater than our magic number 5 or less than? Well, it is 5. Since it is 5, your box number goes up by 1, which is 4. Everything to the right turns to a 0. Our next number is 328. We box the hundreds. We point next door to the 2, the tens place. We ask ourselves, is 2 greater than 5 or less than 5? It is less. Since it is less, our 3 stays the same. Everything to the right turns to a 0. And then we add 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 4 plus 3 is 7. Oh, so 700. That is one of our options. So we rounded correctly. Again, you're not just writing 700 in the box because that doesn't tell me anything. You write the number sentence, 352 plus 328 right here in the box. Then your homework is the last 2 problems within number 5. You need to show your work. Write it on a piece of paper if you don't have room. Next up, we worked on our race packet. So race packet week 4, please. Please get that out. And this is very important. It's school-wide. So even starting in kinder, they're talking a little bit about it. And then in 6th grade, they're going to be writing a lot with race. So this is a very important skill. Now, the R is for restate. So you're restating the question using a sentence format. So the question is, why was Jim late? Restating would say, B, Jim was late because. And then you give your answer. That is A, answer. You need to answer the question completely. That's why I dissect all the directions with them, because students need to make sure they answered it all. If you answer one part of the question and not the rest, you're going to lose points. Then C, cite evidence from the text that supports your answer. So you're being a detective. That's when they go into the passage and underline what proves their answer. So for instance, if it was a passage about Jim was late, why was Jim late? Jim was late because his alarm didn't go off. Making that up. Then let's say in the passage it said something like, he jumped out of bed so quickly because his alarm didn't go off. He was worried about being late. We would underline part of that in the text because it told us his alarm didn't go off. So then we would say, according to the text, and put it in quotes, he jumped out of bed because his alarm didn't go off, period. We write it word for word, quote, right? Then you need to E, explain how your evidence proves your answer. Then you write, this evidence shows me that Jim forgot to turn on his alarm clock, right? If he jumped out of bed, which means he was freaked out, he didn't want to be late because his alarm clock didn't go off. Well, the evidence shows me if his alarm clock didn't go off, he probably forgot to set it. You can pause on these if they don't have it. We already did race practice number 1. And on this one, we only focused on R and A and underlining evidence. That is it. So we read it, and it says Marcos is feeling angry because, that's our R. Because why? His brother broke his remote control car. We answered. Then we cited. How do we know he was angry? And we underlined all that because we knew that. Then we just wrote further. I know because Marcos slammed the door and his face is red. So I did not introduce the quotation marks yet because this was the first time we practiced it. Now the next story, we did that. Race practice 2, we restated the question, why was Sarah sad? Sarah was sad because, that's the restating. Then we answered it. Because she was moving. Now we did cite. We looked and we underlined. Well, how do we know she was sad and how do we know she was moving? Well, if her room was empty, tears were flowing, so she was sad. She sighed as she picked up the box labeled Sarah's room. So that hints to us that she was moving. So we wrote, according to the text, comma, quote. That was an accident. Dot, dot, dot just means we did not write this whole sentence. tells your reader that we only picked part of the sentence. And we wrote word for word. So tears flowed from her eyes. Tears flowed from her eyes, period, quote. We are not practicing E yet on this page. We are not practicing E. So then we practice another C, just so we know. You can also say the story says with quote. So also the story says, comma, quote, Sarah sighed as she picked up the box labeled Sarah's room and headed downstairs. And that's exactly what we wrote. Sarah sighed as she picked up the box labeled Sarah's room and headed downstairs. Today, now this is what we did today, right here. We did all of it, all of race. So please pause and read the story. And then we start with R, restate the question. The question is, how does Maria feel about sports? Okay. Maria feels, and we put blank about sports because we restated the question. Then we answered it. Maria feels confused. That was our answer. Confused about sports. Then we go to C. We cite evidence. And how do we know she was confused? Where in the passage does it say that? Well, right here, Maria didn't even know the difference between a touchdown and a home run. That tells me she was confused. If you don't know the difference, you don't know much about sports. So we underlined that in the text, and that is what we used for our citing with our quotation marks. Quotation marks, when you're answering questions, means you are writing exactly what the author wrote. And you're telling your reader, I didn't make this up. The author wrote it. So that's why it's word for word. So according to the text, which means the text says, and I'm writing word for word, Maria didn't even know the difference between a touchdown and home run. Quotation. All right. Now E, we added E for evidence. Further evidence. We're going to go further. Now you need to explain too. So it's explain, evidence, it's all of that. So what does this quote tell you? Well, you need to always say the evidence shows me. That's what you state. That's how your sentence starts after your quotes with race. This evidence shows me. And what does this evidence show you? Well, Maria doesn't, I made a beautiful oops, doesn't know anything about sports. And that is our evidence. And then for homework, please, 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 please try the back page. I am not grading this, but I do not want a blank paper because I want to see what you know and what you can do so I can further help you throughout the weeks. So please just try practice number 4. We had walk to learn, and then we came back for a little bit, and then you pulled out your weeks 4 and 5 third grade language arts. You are going to flip all the way to the back to page 16. 16. We are not cutting and pasting. And the word, so the main idea belongs in the center of the web. The supporting details belong around the center of the web. So we read all these words and we asked ourselves, what do they have in common? One of them was the main idea. Flip-flops, boots, clogs, sandals, slippers, high heel sneakers, ballet flats. Shoes are what they all have in common. So shoes is our main idea. The rest are the supporting details. And I did not make them write the supporting details. I just wanted to have a conversation and we spoke about how shoes is the main idea. Then on page 23, if you want to try number 1, pause, read the instructions and try number 1. So what we need to do is find the sentence that doesn't belong. So you should have already read it. So when we are talking about our main idea, if you are just finding the main idea of a paragraph, typically 99 out of 100 times, your topic sentence will have your main idea of that paragraph. So our topic sentence is women's gymnastics is a very popular sport to watch during the Olympics. That could actually be your full main idea as a sentence. But what is the main idea as far as a topic? Is women's gymnastics. So then we read each sentence and we decided which is only talking about women's gymnastics. Then we figured out men's gymnastics has 6 different events. That does not need to be in this paragraph. It does not belong. Our topic sentence is about women's gymnastics, not men's. So that's why we circled it. So number 2, we did. Number 3 is homework. Number 4 is extra credit if you want to try it. Then you need to read for 30 minutes and finish your science. And then tomorrow, or today, I'm going to try to post all the materials and work that are due tomorrow pickup, which is from 12 to 2 in the multi-purpose room. Since I am slowing down a lot of the materials, they will keep. So please watch the video so you know what to tear out of the packets and your books. All right, thank you.